Dreamcatchers, welcome to another day in the Writer's Haven. I'm your host, Helena, and with me today is author and motivational speaker, Tracey Smith. Tracey is the author of Heaven's Playground and Be Cute for You, two books of encouragement meant to support the reader through life's trials and triumphs through the Word of God. Here to discuss her projects, personal journey, and tips on how to be the best you that you can be is author Tracey Smith. Yay. Welcome to the Writer's Haven.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to show our dream catchers your books because I failed to show them during the intro. And first of all, welcome to the Writer's Haven, and I am very, very happy that you're here, that we were able to finally get this scheduled. I want to start by just talking a little bit about how you embarked on this writing journey. I know that Heaven's Playground was your first book.
Yes.
But how did you start that process of writing it?
Well, for quite some time, I've been wanting to write a book. I told myself, you're going to write a book, you're going to write a book. So back in 2007, I mustered up the courage to start creating a manuscript. I wanted to write about my entire life, so it was like a very, very thick manuscript, and I just started writing. I wasn't even typing up anything or using a laptop. I was just manually writing down everything, and I just said one day I would release it. Didn't know how to publish, didn't know how to self-publish or get in contact with any publishing company, so I sat on it for a while, and right before my husband, well, back then he was my friend, and then we got engaged. I let him look at my big, thick manuscript, and he looked at it and he was like, you know, this is just your whole life story. There's several books in here. So I decided to pull out one of the chapters and make that my first book, which was Heaven's Playground.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you wrote this manuscript from 2007
Yes. I started writing in 2007, and maybe around 2015,
okay,
that's when I decided to get serious and write the book Heaven's Playground.
So as you were looking at the entire manuscript and the different chapters, and you selected Heaven's Playground, what was it that inspired you to connect with that specific part of your life and publish that story?
Heaven's Playground, the story about my daughter, it wasn't until I experienced the loss of a child that I decided to kind of rethink some things, look at my life and try to better myself. Mm-hmm. And that was the reason why I actually decided to write about my entire life, because of that experience that I went through with my daughter. I had
in 1996.
Yes, in 1996. And that's when I had this epiphany, you know what, I'm going to change my life around. And that's when I developed a relationship with God, connected with God, mm-hmm. and decided to just buckle down and just work on me. Mm-hmm. So because of that reason, that was the reason for me to write a story about my life. I decided to pull that chapter out about my daughter, and I found it to be so easy. When I decided to write about her, it was so easy to get the book out just like that, mm-hmm. immediately.
Yeah, because I have to tell you, and I mentioned this when we were in the green room, that it was such a easy read, mm-hmm. in that once I started reading it, I couldn't stop. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very, very deep. I can just tell from your writing that you really, really went in deep to pull out a lot of different feelings and emotions. Very authentic, yeah. Very authentic. I think a lot of women, particularly moms, could relate to this, whether they had a child that they lost or not. I just think that your journey and the way that you approach your writing, and again, the authenticity of it, it totally pulls the heartstrings. Yeah. It really, really gives you something to think about, you know, when you walk away once you put it down. Because I had actually started, it was paper probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and it was late, but I couldn't put it down. So that's how inspiring the story was for me in reading it. And I think that a lot of the readers that would pick up this book, I think that they would definitely be able to identify with the struggles that you went through and how you overcame them.
Yeah, and so one thing about me, I love to read books that will pull me in, keep me, and I can walk away from the read with a solid message or be inspired to do something great or to better myself. Because of that, I decided to write books like that. Easy read, quick read, so you can just kind of read it, get through it, and just take it away, to have a takeaway like, oh, this was great, I loved it, I want more. But with that particular book, Heaven's Playground, I decided to also write that book because it talks about the loss of my daughter, but it also talks about people who are still dealing with grief, whether it be a mother, father, sister, brother, child, friend. It talks about getting through that grief, past that grief, not getting stuck, continuing to live your life. Look for a day of new beginnings. And I've encountered a lot of people who may have lost someone, and you'll see them and they have this look on their face, like a look of grief, and they're holding on to something that they've been dealing with for like 10 or 20 years. And you'll ask them what's wrong or what happened to you, and they'll say, well, I lost my mom and I'm not over it. So I felt...
And no one can put a time frame on
Exactly.
your loss.
Yeah, so because of how I went through it and what I experienced and some of the things I felt like God was revealing to me about my daughter and where she is now, and I talk about it in one of the chapters in the book, The Safe Deposit Box, about her being in heaven and a dream that I had of her being there, and it was something that I held on to, and it gave me the courage to just keep moving forward.
Was it therapeutic for you?
To write it? People ask me that all the time, and I would say no, because I was fine. I was really, I've been good for quite some time now. I don't have moments where I like break down or cry. I would say once the book was released, there was one time I was at my sister's house, and we were having Christmas dinner, and she pulled out all these pictures of my daughter, pictures I didn't even know she had. And one of the pictures, she was sitting there, and she had these little pretty ponytails, and she was dyeing Easter eggs. And oh my gosh, you talking about I haven't had a moment in like 15 years. But when I saw that, it just gripped me, because I remember doing her hair, and I thought, oh man, I got to get it together. I got to get it together.
Yeah.
But that really, that just caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
You talked about the dream. You talked about the dream that you had of having a daughter and that relationship.
Yeah.
Before you even had her, it seems like. So, yeah, that's why I asked about was it therapeutic in any way for you?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's through the grace of God. I mean, that's the whole point of what you're saying in your book, that your connection with Him is what carried you through. And so now, you know, several years later, you still are holding on to that belief that she's in the safe deposit box.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy initially, you know, when she, when I kind of saw things wasn't going too well and she was relapsing, and you know, the leukemia kept coming back, and I thought, okay, this doesn't look good. And I did have a moment when I, you know, said to God, you know what, I don't want to be here. If you're going to take her, take me. And you know, God is probably like, well, I'll take you both. You're going to heaven. So, you know, I'm thinking like, well, no, I didn't really mean that. But I had a moment, but it's something about when God is on the scene, when you're going through something really, really tough, He'll give you a peace to get through any and everything. And that's something He gave me. You know, He gave me confirmation that I'm with you, I'm with her, and she's going to be good. because that's hard. She was 4 years old. I loved her. She was my little doll baby. So to kind of just relinquish that and say, okay, I trust you, that's you know, on the surface it looked like it was impossible, but it's something about tapping into a relationship with him, a connection, and getting that peace to kind of get through some stuff. Him telling you it's going to be okay, you know. And that's with anything. That's applicable with so many things in life.
So we talked about the chapter headings for that book specifically. So what was the significance in the chapter headings that you have in the book?
In Heaven's Playground? Well, it's interesting because when I first started writing, I would kind of think of a chapter title, and then I would try to write the chapter out based on the title. That doesn't work. So I decided to, of course, pray and ask God for direction of how I should write a certain chapter out. Once the chapter is written and I feel like I poured out, first I get inspired to talk about a certain subject, and that could be that chapter. That's starting or formulating the title of that chapter. So when I write the whole complete chapter out, you know, then I look at it and I wait and I kind of just think to myself, what should it be? And I may say, God, what should this chapter title be? And meditate on it for a minute, and then all of a sudden it'll come to me. And it's crazy because I do that like throughout the book, and then when it's over, it's like it's a masterpiece. And it's not, I promise you, it's not me. It's like I pray about things and it'll come to me, and when I look back on the book and all of the different chapter titles, it all fell in place. And it's unbelievable. And like I told you, like earlier, like my husband, he steps in and he's like the ultimate editor. And he'll sit there with me and he'll bounce stuff off me and say, so what does this mean? What does that mean? And do you have scriptures to back this, that, and the other up? But with the chapter titles, because he's like, you said that? Where is it in the Bible? I'm like, okay. So we'll go look it up, but with the chapter titles, he may read it and say, okay, or either, and we'll brainstorm together, and he'll wait and I'll wait. He may come up with something, I'm like, oh my gosh, like why didn't I think of that? But I know it's the right thing or the right chapter title, and vice versa. So at that moment, I feel like God is like he put us both together to work on these projects or these book projects, but he gets inspired and I get inspired, and he receives things just like I do. And it's crazy how everything turns out with the books.
It's divine.
It's definitely divine, because I've never researched on how to write a book, how to do a layout, and I've never done any of that.
And that's the reason why I wanted you specifically to talk about the chapter headings, because as you revealed it to me, you know, there's authors that write in different genres, and so in our process can be just as individual as the genre. So, for example, there may be, let's say you have 3 authors and they're all writing fiction novels, but their process and their approach is different. So what you told me about the chapter headings, and how you first tried, okay, here's the heading, I'm going to write to that. Like, no, that's not going to work. You know, so you did it a different way, a different process, and it's interesting to know how writers of inspirational work actually write. It's inspired.
Yeah.
It's inspired. So you don't use an outline like some authors use outlines, and that's not something that you do. But the fluidness of your writing, I tell you, it was just, I wouldn't have known that this was your first book. In reading your book, I mean, either you had a daggone good editor,
right? Yeah,
or it just poured out in a way. It just didn't read like this other authors that I've read, and it's their first book. I mean, it was just very well written, thought out, executed on the page. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that our dream catchers heard what your process is as a inspirational writer.
I always have this thing inside of me that when I'm writing and I'm concentrating on like a project, I always pray first, but I know it's me when I'm trying to rush through something. I know it's me when I'm trying to put something out, like I want everyone to see it, like here it is, it's the biggie now, it's the big one. And I know when it's God, when I'm hearing, you're not done. Look at this again. Go deeper. It's not finished. You know, you need to edit it. You need to bounce this off your husband, or you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's patience. And so, and that's something, unfortunately, I don't have. But I know that when I'm allowed,
Patience with yourself or patience with the process?
well, when I was younger, it used to be patience with life. I wanted everything really quick, fast, in a hurry. And
like
if I,
most of us.
yeah, but now I know that everything, there's a process with everything. And if you want it done the right way, the solid way, you know, just have patience, be humble, have faith, and watch things unfold. So just like with my books, just waiting and feeling like, okay, now you're done. Now go to the next chapter, or go to this, go to that, or add more. I'm just waiting to hear that from God, and then it just turns out to be like a masterpiece, and that's interesting.
Right, and along those lines, you talked about being an avid reader. Are there any other writers of inspirational work that you enjoy reading?
Like, I have a lot of favorite people, and this is funny because I love listening to certain people all the time, like T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, and like even my pastors, doctors, Doctors Mike and Dee Dee Freeman of Spirit of Faith Christian Center, love them. But when it comes down to reading a book of like maybe T.D. Jakes or Joel Osteen, I would rather hear them like on a CD.
Audio.
Yeah, I would rather hear that than reading a book. And
is it the delivery and in their voice? Because I think they do most of their own audiobooks.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. Unless it's a quick read, it'll pull me in immediately. It'll grab my attention and keep me and hold me. I will not sit there and be like, okay, I'll get back to this again tomorrow, and kind of like stretch it out for 2 to 3 weeks or so. So it would have to be a quick read. I love reading books that are small, powerful, and make a great impact.
Right, right. So let's talk about your newest book, Be Cute for You. So what inspired this book?
Well, there was a time in my life when I was a single parent, and I was a single parent for maybe, 13 years until I met my husband. But during that time, you know, as you know, my daughter passed away in '96. A few years after that, I mean, I had small kids, and went through this terrible divorce. But I was a single parent for over 10 years, just single-handedly taking care of everything with my kids. During that time, I was connecting with God because I'm still grieving a little bit over my daughter, trying to raise my kids. Thank God I had them because they kept me busy. They kept my mind off of what just happened to my daughter. But during that time, by getting into the Word, reading my Bible, rebuilding myself, going after a new life and a new beginning, there was a transformation inside of me to work on my self-esteem, self-confidence, tap into my inner beauty. You know, you could be beautiful on the outside all day long, but if you don't know who you are within yourself and have that confidence and know there's a beautiful person inside of you, that doesn't matter. because you're going to attract the wrong attention. So I decided to stay to myself. And it's interesting, while I was with my boys, just raising them, practicing like celibacy for like 8 years, not bringing anyone into their lives unless it was the right person. So I decided, you know, I've been through enough wrong mess in my life. So now I'm going to stay focused and just rebuild myself. And during that time, I just took delight in looking cute around the house, wearing little lounge pants, Victoria's Secret t-shirts, and it was just for me. And I wrote in my journal back in, I think, 2006, because I used to journal a lot back then, read my Bible and journal, and I wrote, you know, I felt like God told me, you know, just be cute for you. It's all about you. If you love yourself, that's all that matters. And I wrote that in my journal so long ago, and I said, one day I'm going to use this. I'm going to do something with it. So Be Cute for You stemmed from when I was a single parent and just trying to raise my kids by myself and work on my self-esteem and self-beauty and confidence. And I just felt like now is the time to share it with so many women that have lost their identity, dealing with an inner identity crisis, and not knowing their self-worth, and not knowing that they're beautiful, and especially a lot of young women who are kind of trying to get the attention the wrong way. So
let's talk about your motivational speaking. Whereas Heaven's Playground was more set as a memoir, written in first person, which I love first person writing. And that was probably one of the things that kept me glued to the book as well. And then flipping over to Be Cute for You, where it's a motivational, inspirational, encouraging, empowering type of book. And was that the launch of your motivational speaking, or how did that come about?
not really. Like, everything is just evolving. It's not like I set out to say, okay, I'm going to be this motivational speaker. I'm going to do this first, and I'm going to do that. Like, things are just happening with it. And Be Cute for You is almost like a teaching tool for women, and it's so many rich nuggets in it. Like, you could read a couple of sentences and really have to stop and think about what it's saying and reflect on yourself. So it's just mainly to kind of motivate and teach individuals, but there's no strategy. I didn't put anything in place. And then I'll have people come into me, I would like you to speak here, I would like you to speak at my church, or we have young women here, and this would be great for them. And I'm thinking like, okay, that's fine. But I don't know. It's just, I felt like I was inspired to do it. God told me to do it. And I know that there's a bigger plan, but I don't know what that is. I really don't have the answers to that.
But you're faithful, and you know that you've been put into this position for a purpose. You know, all of the things that you've gone through is a life lesson in itself, not only for you, of course, but for you to share that and enrich someone else's life. Because, you know, we both know that things that are given to us are really for other people. And so it's like a ministry.
And it's fun.
It's fun.
It's so fun, and I love cute things. I do. I love little things, shoes, T-shirts, hairstyles, clothing. I love cute stuff. And if I can just kind of tell people, you know, be cute for you. And a lot of people like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be cute for me. I'm gonna wear this, I'm gonna wear that. I'm like, no, 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 no. Get the book. So let's start with the inner beauty first, and then we could. It's fine to be cute on the outside, but tap into your inner beauty.
Okay, so what's next? It sounds like your husband is a ghostwriter or somewhat of a co-writer. So are you guys thinking about writing a book together, or what's your next project?
I wish he was here to hear this question. I'm not sure, because he doesn't even realize what's happening. You know, it's like he's just been thrust into this. I told him that I wanted to write a book. I scheduled a photo shoot, and he just watched me do all of this, and then he got on board with it. And then he just started helping. He's like my he's 100% behind me with all projects. And so I don't know. He may say things to me like, oh, actually, you're not going to believe this. After, I wrote Heaven's Playground, he told me, because I had my Be Cute For You t-shirts out at that time, he told me.
Which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and he told me, your next book is going to be called Be Cute For You. And I thought, no, it's no way. Like, who wants to talk about that? Be cute for you. And I dismissed it. So like at the end of the year, my book signing was in April of 2016. By the end of that year, I kid you not, after I saw how people was kind of drawn to my logo, Be Cute For You, I thought, whoa, that was my ministry, that was my story, that's my testimony, that's my book. And I told him, that's my book. And he was like,
did he remind you?
He did. Yes, he totally reminded me of that. But he's always coming to me. He'll say things like, you know what I think your next book. So now I listen. I don't know what the next project is going to be.
Do you think you'll go back to your big manuscript and pull a chapter out of that?
I definitely want to go back to that manuscript because there's some great stuff in it. But I still know, off the top of my head what's in it and what direction I may want to go into. But I'll kind of wait and just hear from God to say, okay, this is what you should do next.
That's an absolutely good plan. So you have an event coming up.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I have the Be Cute For You book signing event.
Okay.
And it's going to be on November the 18th, and it's at the Hilton, Doubletree by Hilton in Columbia, Maryland. And it's from 1:30 to 5 p.m. I'm going to have a couple of inspirational speakers there. I'm going to talk about my book. And I'm also I have my whole line of t-shirts. Yeah, Be Cute For You. I have those, and they've been selling like hotcakes. So I'm definitely going to have those there with my books.
And you're thinking about adding more different t-shirts to your line?
Yes, I can't wait. I'm so excited about that. So maybe when things settle down a little bit with the book signing, and then I can kind of wait and sit and pray and say, okay, God, what's next? Because I'm so excited, like, what's next? It has to be something cute.
Of course.
Right. So I don't know if it's going to be like, and I kind of thought just a little teeny bit, I don't know yet, about a shoe.
I
love wearing.
I see the nice little shoe at the.
And guess what?
And also the shoes on the cover. Of the book are very nice as well. Well, Tracey, it was great talking to you. I look forward to having you back in the Haven. Can you hear me, Dreamcatchers? I look forward to having you back in the Haven. I hope, Dreamcatchers, that you enjoyed today's show and was inspired by the work and talent of author Tracey Smith. For more information about Tracey, you can visit her website at traceysmithinspirations.com. And next week in the Haven, join us for a discussion with military veteran and poet Charles Stokes, who will discuss his book, Love, Pain, and Poetry. Until then, catch fire on purpose.
Green hat, red hat, oops. Red shirt, blue shirt, yellow shirt, oops. Yellow pants, red pants, green pants, oops.